Hello friends, welcome to Study to Win. In this lecture, I am going to explain line and end measurement in metrology. Let's start with our lecture. Our first slide shows there are two instruments, there are basic instruments. This is called as a scale and this is, we call it as a protractor. So on this scale and protractor, there are so many lines with which we take the measurement. That is the reason we call it as a line measurement, because we take help of lines in this measurement. So basically how we do measurement in using the line measuring instrument is, suppose on a plain paper there are two lines and between which I want to measure the distance between these two lines. Then I will simply pick the scale, I will match the 0th line with this line, first line, and I'll check which line of this scale matches with the second line, and then I will count the number of divisions between these two lines on a scale, and I will multiply that number of divisions by a smallest division on scale. I will get the measurement. This is the principle on which we take the measurement. No one remembers this basic principle, but this is the principle, or this is the idea on which scale work. Like suppose a smallest division on this scale is 1 mm and number of divisions between these two lines is 50, then we call it as a 50 into 1, that is 50 mm is the distance between these two lines. Similar goes for the angle. If these are the two lines between which I want to measure the angle, I'll match the first line with the 0th of this particular protractor, and then I'll check for the second line on which degree it matches, and then I'll calculate the angle. So this is the line measurement. If I talk about the line measurements, it is used to measure the distance between lines. We cannot measure the distance between the surfaces or angle between the surfaces using the scale or protractor. So this is basically used, these instruments are used on a plain paper or plain sheet or plain ground. It needs a plain surface. We cannot use it with the surfaces. Accuracy of this instrument is not very great. We consider it as around 0.2 to 0.5 mm accurate instruments. This method is very quick and easy. As you can imagine, we can easily take the distance between these two scales or angle between these two lines within a fraction of second, or within a minute we can take the measurement. So this is very quick and easy. Long life, this instruments doesn't worn out very easily. We can use this, if this scale is metal, then we can use it for many years without any loss of accuracy and so on. So life of this instrument is considerably high. Parallax error, line measuring instruments are subjected to parallax error, so our line of vision must be always perpendicular to the graduations or the markings which are there on the instrument. Example, if I say, then common example is the scale. This protractor is also a line measurement. Any measuring instrument which is with which we take the measurement based on lines is considered as a line measurement. Like you can consider a wall watch is also a line measuring instrument, because on the watch also there are number of lines and there are needles with which we take the measurement. That means we find the time. Then measuring tape. There are so many instruments which are based on line, and these are all line measuring instruments. But all measurements cannot be taken with the line measurement instruments. Like suppose this is a angle plate, this is side view of it, and this is a front view of angle plate. There are some slots on it for fixing it to the table. If I ask you to measure the distance between or the width of this slot, then line measuring instrument may not be proper choice to do this, because we are having only surfaces, and if we are taking the help of edges and using the line measurement, still we will get the measurement. But if you talk about the accuracy, we are talking about the accuracy of line measurement is around 0.2 to 0.5 mm, which is very less if we talk about the precise measurements. So there are end measurement technique also, with which we can very much comfortably measure the distance between these two surfaces or the width of this slot to a much greater accuracy than the line measurement. So in this case, a end measurement is preferable to measure the width of this slot. But if there are no surfaces, then obviously we have to go for the line measurement. So wherever possible or wherever accuracy is required, we go for end measurement, otherwise line measurement is preferred. So let us look at the next slide. In this slide we will talk about the end measurement. So like you extend the concept of line measurement, we are having an end measurement in which we take the measurement between the ends, that means between the surfaces. Like we have seen the example of angle plate, in which there are ends, there are surfaces, and between which we are taking the measurement. That means we are measuring the distance between two surfaces, in short. Accuracy of this instrument will be considerably high. It is around 1 micron accuracy we can measure. So for end measurement, where we generally use slip gauges, we can also use end bars also, but slip gauge is very common. So this is a slip gauge block in which there are a number of slip gauges of various sizes, from very small size of maybe 1.001 mm slip gauge you can find, or you can find as high as like 90 mm or something. You can find the length of slip gauges. Slip gauge is nothing but it is a block, a eraser kind of block will be there, which is of metal and which has a specific distance. Like this is a, suppose this is a 5 mm, so this is a 5 mm width, 5 mm distance slip gauge. There are number of slip gauges having the different dimensions. So this is one set. There are number of slip gauge sets also, which have different configurations of different slip gauges. And this diagram shows the how one slip gauge will be attached to the another. So this is one slip gauge, this is another slip gauge. If I rub these two slip gauges in this way, and then if I twist it on with one on another, then these two will get added. This phenomena we call it as a ringing phenomena. So with ringing phenomena, I can rub these two slip gauges and I can attach it with one another so that it will behave like an one slip gauge. That means if I have a 5 mm slip gauge, I can pick any, like suppose 2 mm slip gauge, and I'll rub it on it, and then this 2 mm slip gauge will get attached to the 5 mm slip gauge, and this will become now a gauge block of 5 plus 2 7 mm slip gauge block. So like this I can make a different dimensions using the different slip gauges from this slip gauge box. So basically what we have to do here in this case is, suppose we have some kind of block here, and I want to measure distance between, like this is a some block is there which has some slot. I want to measure distance between this face and this face. So what I will be doing here is, I will be taking the number of slip gauges, and I'll make some slip gauge block, and I'll try to insert it in between this slot. Whenever I feel the gauge block is getting inserted with a correct precision, then I will count the number of slip gauges dimension in that block, and I'll comment on the what is the distance between those two surfaces. Like if the gauge block is easily getting slided, or there is a gap between the surfaces and the slip gauge block, then I will add some slip gauge. Like this, with the trial and error method, I'll be able to find the distance between these two surfaces with much accuracy than the line measurement. So this is more accurate instruments, but this process takes time. So this is time consuming instrument. Or if you really need a precision, then you go for slip gauge. Generally it will be used in high precision rooms only. Otherwise in day-to-day activity, line measurement is preferable. Subjected to wear, since we are rubbing these two slip gauge one on another, then after some time there is a considerable wear in the slip gauge, and they lose the dimension. Like this 5 mm will no more be equal to 5 mm, and there will be some reduction in the dimension. So this is not so long life instruments, subjected to wear. Or what happens sometimes is, when the slip gauge box is new, if I rub one slip gauge onto the another, it will get easily attached. But after a period of time, even if I rub it so many times, still they will not get attached, because the surface will not be so smooth. Because ringing will only happen if the surfaces are very finished. but after using it, the surface finish gets deteriorate, and the ringing phenomena will also not occur with the slip gauge if they are old. Similarly, this particular measurement techniques needs built-in data, which is not required in case of scale. Like if I want to measure the distance between two lines which are on the plain paper, then certainly I will not be able to use the slip gauge blocks to measure the distance between these two lines. So definitely I need some datum, like this is a surface, this is a surface, which are act as a datum for this slip gauge. So this needs built-in datum. In case of line measurements, we don't need that datum. Since there are no lines, so there is no question of parallax error. So this technique is free from parallax error. Example of this measurement technique is slip gauge and Mars, and so on. This slide indicates merely differences between the line and end measurement. These are nothing but the consultation of the points which we have discussed so far. Let us revise quickly. Line measurement, end measurement. It is less accurate, quick and easy, almost no wear of instrument, no built-in datum is required, subjected to parallax error, and examples are scale. End measurements are accurate, time consuming, subjected to wear. So this is wear, subjected to wear on measuring faces, built-in datum is required, no parallax error. An example, if we talk, it will be like slip gauges and end bars. So this is the lecture on line and end measurement. If you like this lecture, please click on like button, share with your friends. If you have any doubt, comment. If you are not subscribed the channel, subscribe it. Thank you.